What do you think about the Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3?
So that's madness. So the Constitutional Amendment Bill number 3 is to disfranchise Zimbabweans, to make sure that the lives of every Zimbabwean is controlled, and to destroy whatever independence, integrity we have as people. So we're being stripped off of our rights to exist in Zimbabwe. In other words, our human rights are being taken away, because then you're no longer human. So currently Zimbabwe is a military police state. So that's what it is. We have been a semi-failed state, and if Bill number 3, Amendment number 3 succeeds, it means we are moving into a failed state, which is quite sad. So the things we have seen, remember, President Mugabe tried to create a one-party state before the unity government with ZAPO. So then in 2000, when we had the referendum in terms of expropriation of lands without compensation, but also that was not the main issue. The main issue there was to say, how do we extend the powers of the president? So he also wanted to create the life president. So what's happened here, President Mnangagwa is just trying to copy what President Mugabe was trying to do, okay? By now introducing in this country a law that says at any particular time, a president can say, well, please, for whatever his vision is, because nobody understands his vision. He has never sold the vision to anyone. We don't know what that vision is. It's his vision and whoever he's close to, okay?
What about the vision 2030?
Well, what is the vision 2030? Because it has never been told. So if he failed to achieve something from 1980, him being part of government, what vision? We're already like 47, 46 years into the so-called independence. So the biggest challenge with that is that he wants to remain president of the country without elections. So in other words, he wants to ban elections in Zimbabwe and become a life president. Because what stops them and him leading that, once we get to 2030, to say, well, I didn't finish. They can change the constitution again in 2030, because once the president has been set, it will be able to follow, right? Okay. So what they're looking to do here is to create a dynasty. Okay, there is a totalitarian system that is being there, authoritarian system that is there, a military state that is there, where there's a war. You can't argue with us. So if you look in the old socialist system, okay, where you've got the bourgeoisie, the farmer, which is the manager, and the peasant. So the peasant does all the work to give it to the manager. Then the manager gives everything to the bourgeoisie. The bourgeoisie then distributes as they see fit. So this is what's happening. So the president will decide, and we've got the people in the middle. The rest of Zimbabweans will be working, not for themselves, will be working to feed the top guys. So the middle people are just there to control the majority. And the top guys was the bourgeoisie, and if I convert that from the president to the cabinet to the masses of Zimbabwe, the masses of Zimbabwe will work to feed the MPs and the cabinet. The cabinet then will give it to the big boss. The big boss then, who is the president, then allocate for the rest of the citizens.
Mm-hmm. All right. The bill attempts to bypass the current constitutional safeguards that prevents incumbents from benefiting from their own term limits amendments. And so as a political leader, what is your plan to challenge this?
Well, remember what the biggest challenge in Zimbabwe is, I said, we are living in a military police state, right? The judiciary is captured, because most of the judges have been given houses and cars and stuff like that, okay? Parliament basically has been captured. ZANU-PF is 2/3 in parliament. Cabinet serve at the behest of the president, at the pleasure of the president. So that's why they will support it and so on. So would the legal process really solve the problem in Zimbabwe? It is a tool we can use, but we also need to go to SADC. Because SADC, because Zimbabwe is part of the 60 member states of SADC, the community, the countries, to say, well, some of the rules of good public governance are being taken away. And one of it, in terms of really the power, is...
Let me cut you there. SADC is a toothless bulldog. What's your pushback on that?
Well, it is, but we need to basically be able to push that. The same thing, we could talk about the courts here, that we won't be able to achieve anything. But I think, it depends who has been engaging SADC. So what I'm saying to you right now, we have a team that we are working with that is going to really test SADC, whether SADC really is just a toothless organization that does nothing. But we need now to be able to reveal and expose them for who they are. If they're just yes men to protect each other, Zimbabweans are dying. I just heard a lady who committed suicide at Bedbridge after her grocery was taken or confiscated by Zimra. Why are Zimbabweans still streaming to buy groceries in South Africa if Zimbabwe is self-sufficient and is independent, right? Okay. We've been listening to lots of lies. That ZIG is backed by gold, but the currency basically is not used in Zimbabwe. Because if the currency is used in Zimbabwe, and to tell you, one of the most important tool or asset we have to show that we're Zimbabweans is a passport. You don't pay the passport in ZIG. So if they believe the ZIG is a good currency, why are they not saying people must use the ZIG to pay for the passport? It's a dollar. So that shows already they don't believe in the ZIG. That shows already that we are being led by a government or by people who are failures. So I don't want to say they have failed, they're actually failures. Because there are lots of examples where they failed. They failed to have a currency. We don't have our own currency. So there's no independence, there's no sovereignty. So the so-called sovereignty is just being talked about. But what defines sovereignty? Sovereignty is just not the territory, the land called Zimbabwe, because that's not in dispute. So these guys are failed. I mean, it's painful to be led by failed people.
These guys are known to be ruthless when it comes to these issues. They don't want people to express themselves, to share their views in public, like what you are doing. Are you not scared?
Scared of what? But I'm just telling the truth. Can you apply for a passport using ZIG? No. Thank you. So that's a fact. So they can't come to you for speaking the facts, right? Okay? Because you see, you only get scared of people who cannot think properly. Because here we're talking about practical issues, about ideas. Only cowards resort to force to subdue critical thinking.
All right. The bill also proposes that the president will be elected by the parliament rather than a direct public vote. So how do you respond to the claims that this aligns Zimbabwe with other parliamentary democracies like South Africa and Botswana?
Well, we don't have to follow that. We don't have to follow South Africa or Botswana. But if you look at Botswana, they've got systems that were left by Sekama. They have universal healthcare system. They have certain industries where they've got competitive advantage. South Africa is in tatters. What was put there to say that it has to be parliament because the National Party, the former apartheid government, knew that if they give power to these guys, they're going to lose. So they wanted to find ways of controlling the people and controlling the government. So the South African government is kind of ceremonial right now, if I could say that, because they can't do anything. The main opposition party, which is the DA, whatever the government ruling party was doing in South Africa, they challenged the courts. So the South African government is not run by the president, but is run by courts and parliament. You don't want that. If the courts are kept, it's not the people. So that's why I said to you, this is going to differentiate the people and remove the right of one man, one vote, which we fought for in Zimbabwe. If you remember President Mugabe during the liberation struggle, when we were young people as Mjibas, he used to say, well, we're fighting for one man, one vote and to get our land back. Now you're going to take away that right of one man, one vote. So you differentiating people. Why should 280 people or 70 members of parliament represent me? Because your views can change over time. So we say If you are loved by people, give the people the chance to make the decision themselves. So if President Mnangagwa believes Zimbabweans love him, why can't he go for 2028 elections? Actually, I would propose that we would not have a problem if ZANU-PF puts President Mnangagwa as their candidate for 2028. And then if he wins, he can get not 2 years, he can get another 5 years from 28 to 2033, which means now he's going, but that's democratic through the will of the people. We're saying bring him on in 2028 and we'll beat him. Bring ZANU-PF in 2028. If they stop using military and the police and everybody, if they dismantle the police state and have free and fair elections in Zimbabwe, ZANU-PF will never win elections in Zimbabwe.
In Zimbabwe, we've noticed, I'm saying from the majority point of view, we've noticed that for one to lead this country, you need to have a gun which is military and police, and you must have the bag, which is money, to finance all those things, and you need to have the people, which is people who will vote for you. So if you lack one, you will never, ever, ever lead this country. What do you have to say about that?
So basically, I know Zimbabwe right now, money is the biggest thing. They're using money to buy everybody. They buy people chicken when the children back home, they've got nothing. And I'm saying to Zimbabweans, please stop getting chickens, which you can only eat at the rally. But when you go home, you go back to your hunger and an environment. So we need to change that mentality. But coming back to the army and to the police, these are people who live in their communities. So there will come a time when they see true leadership, and true leadership is here. We're going to present true leadership this year. We're going to present alternative government to kind of what we have, and people are going to see for themselves the capable leadership.
If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share so that our conversation will reach more people. All right, you can continue from what you are saying.
So basically, I'm saying all these things you're talking about, money, you can't compete because they're using state money. Okay, so we can compete with them on money. But what we can compete on is basically being able to sell our ideas to the people of Zimbabwe. That we're doing this for the future of your children, for the next generation. We're doing this for Zimbabwe. This is your country. This is our country. So we need to stand against us being killed slowly by being deprived of our right to vote, by being deprived the right to assemble, by being deprived the right to work or to practice any choice of profession. That's what we need to fight. But you are saying the army and the police. I'm saying the army and the police is made up of Zimbabweans. Those are Zimbabweans who are serving in those roles. So we need to be able to communicate there's nothing to fear. And once the new government, the alternative government comes in, things will be better. So I don't want to live in the Second Republic. I want to live in Zimbabwe. We never fought for Second Republic. So this whole idea about Second Republic is a fuss.
Let me cut to the, if you could have 1 minute with the President Mnangagwa, what will you say to him in a sentence?
If I were to meet him, I'll just tell him this is what we fought for. You have no capacity to run the country, and we could do better and look after you into retirement so that yourself and your grandchildren and your children can live better in the country.
In your own view, what specific risks does this bill have on marginalized groups?
This bill, non-marginal groups, every Zimbabwean who is not part of the top 200 ZANU-PF is going to suffer. So it's not targeting any one specific group. It's targeting every Zimbabwean who is not controlling the money and who is not in executive. An MP can lose their jobs. They don't understand that. A minister, you can lose your job. But the most important thing is don't think about yourself. Think about your children and your neighbors' children.
But from a political point of view, what's wrong with our education system? And if you are given an opportunity, what are the things that you will change? So
the education system, in terms of, I think, obviously has changed quite a lot. And some of the things that are being introduced do not, are not good for the future of Zimbabwe in terms of innovation and in terms of developing a competitive advantage as a country. Because we need to say, what is our resources, right? The people and some of the natural resources, and do we have the capacity and the skills, the know-how to be able to tap into those resources to benefit our people? So if you are led by people who don't understand business and education and the value of education, okay, then we can't go anywhere. I just believe that the people who are running Zimbabwe are not capable of running Zimbabwe for the benefit of Zimbabweans. They are there for themselves. That's full stop.
What will we change in our education system?
So basically, we would change to make sure that we move towards science and agriculture and things that makes us who we are. Things that basically will make sure that there's maximum economic benefit. We extract maximum benefit from the resources that were created for us.
But you mentioned that also President Mnangagwa must just agree to have elections in 2028, and he will lose.
Yes.
From what we have already seen from the past elections, ZANU-PF has always announced as the winner, according to SEC. So what gives you that confidence that it will lose?
So they will lose because, you know, there's a time when reality will hit. Okay. So people know that there has been manipulation, rigging. So you've got lots of organizations like FAS and lots of organizations that are formed towards elections to intimidate people. Okay. So the credible, the good war veterans that were there, they're also tired of what's happening. The civil servants are tired of what's happening. I mean, they get bribed. You know, they get corrupted by the top so that they continue. I mean, if you are Zimbabwean, why would they say that? If you are a civil servant, you can go and buy a car, say for 5,000, which is duty-free, and you don't qualify for that car if you go to a bank. That's corruption, right? Because you're not looking for a car, but you have been given this incentive, right, to go and buy a car, which you can't maintain. Your income does not allow you to buy a car. But they've been encouraging that. So that's why they kept the civil servants as well. Okay. But where are people buying their fuel? From their service stations. So this is a self-serving government.
All right. What is your party's position on truth, justice, and reparations for Gukurahundi?
We've always said that, you know, we needed to make sure that we accept that what happened was horrible, was wrong. It should not have happened. We should have found ways of solving the differences that arose at that particular time. Okay. So they needed to make sure that, you know, you can't buy life back. So what we need to do is to make sure that all Zimbabweans have got access to education, have got access to opportunities and so on. Okay. Now you're saying almost 40 years down the line, let me go and find, okay, the family members, surviving family members of those communities and give them something. Would that cover all these 40 years of suffering and so on? Would that bring back their loved ones? We just need a caring government. We need to accept what happened was wrong. It should not have happened. And those who were at the forefront must apologize. And the government must, not just for one particular group, but for everybody, make sure that there are resources that benefit the people.
All right. What's your position on land reform that happened in the early 2000s?
Land reform was important, but it was chaotic. But the most important thing, who got the land?
I don't know. You tell us.
Well, we must ask, Zimbabwe must ask, to say, when we said land reform, who got the land? Okay, that's number one. What happened to the farm workers that were also affected, that were evicted from those farms? Okay, because if we wanted the land, why remove the farm workers who are Africans? Okay, so those people who were at the land had built houses. Okay, that was development of the house. So they must be compensated for the houses by the person who is staying in the farm, not by the fiscus. So the taxman can't pay for the benefit of an individual who is staying in somebody's house illegally. So what's supposed to happen is that we take the land and get it distributed, not to an individual, but it reverts to the state. And make sure that there is enough food production. Would you be happy if you're an agricultural student and you can't get a job, but we have got land?
In Zimbabwe, there is a thin line between the state and the ruling party.
Yeah.
So to a Zimbabwean who is out there, there is no difference.
Yeah, because they've made it that the ZANU-PF is the government of Zimbabwe and ZANU-PF is Zimbabwe.
Also, do you believe in that white farmers should be compensated?
If white farmers are being compensated, by who? First, I'll ask you, who should compensate them?
By the people who took the farms.
Yes, whoever is staying at that farm must compensate. Not taxpayers' money.
Let's talk this. These people, they come, they colonized us, they took our land forcefully, and why should they be compensated?
No. I'm saying they must be compensated for the house that is there, not for the land.
What about the profits they made with our free land?
The profit they made with your free land? Well, that can be a different debate altogether. But when you say compensate, who is compensating them? You haven't answered me that question.
You tell us.
No, but you're saying that why shouldn't they be compensated? By who? Because I don't believe anybody should compensate them.
Okay.
If I move into your house, you can say this is my house, right? Because I built it. But if you say this is the land, I can say, where did you get the land from? Who did you pay to? How much did you pay for it? So they cannot answer on the land, but they can answer on the houses they built. So I want it to be very clear.
Yeah, sure.
The land redistribution was very critical and important, and it was one of the, not even one, the main reason why we fought the war. Okay? But my question is, who should compensate? Who is enjoying the land and who took the tractors? Because the tractor was not there. God did not create 10 tractors at a farm or a combined harvester. Somebody bought that. So those things they must take and leave the land. So if somebody then went to take the land and the tractor, that person who is using the tractor must pay for the tractor.
All right. Back then, pre-colonial era, the land was communal. And these days it has changed. And what do you think about land ownership altogether?
So there has to be private land, okay, in terms of individuals, because we all work and till the land differently. So I believe in title deeds that people must get land and work on it, okay? So that I've got no problem. But I don't want us to confuse people who took people's houses and tractors and lorries for land. Land is a separate thing altogether. So I want the debate to say, I was staying on this land, on this farm, I built this house. My house is worth this much. I need my tractor, I need my planter. Then the person who is using the planter must compensate for that.
According to the conversations that we have and the voices that we took from the people out there, they say they want young blood on this leadership position. Do you think these positions must be held by people who are young?
It needs younger, experienced people. So all those things are very relative.
Or also, are you mentoring someone from Zim Congress to take on the leadership positions?
Yes.
Okay.
We're very open, and we want to make sure that we pass the baton. So there has to be generations. Things change. So the people who were leading the liberation struggle at the forefront of the war were in their teens. And the senior people were in offices in Mozambique, Zambia, and other countries. So it's always like that. Every revolution is led by young people. So the industrial revolution must be led by people. The change of leadership and thinking must be led by young people.
Your time is
Thank you
running
very
fast
much.
and furious. So
Let
me ask you this question. What's your 3-step plan to stabilize our economy, and what are the guys in power doing wrong?
The guys in power doing wrong is that they basically don't know how to manage the economy. They don't know Zimbabwe's strength. They don't know Zimbabwe's assets. Zimbabwe's assets are people and resources. But those resources are being plundered and taken away out of the country, and the young people are roaming the streets.
But what's your 3-step plan to stabilize the economy?
The 3-step plan to stabilize the economy is obviously to get a new government in place first. Because you can't stabilize the economy from outside. So you need to get the inept, the people who can run out, and put people who can control the machines. If you are not a good driver, you can't be driving. So that's the first step. Once you get the driver out, you then put a new team that is there, okay? And then you put a national vision that can be bought by people. We need to create new industries to create jobs.
As a tradition, we have what you call the final 5. I'm going to ask you 5 questions, then you answer them as short as you
100%.
can. Yeah, sure. So my first question is, if you are to make one universal law that everyone must follow, which one would it be?
Universal law. Everybody is free to do what they need to do, but with respecting other people.
What is the best advice you ever received?
The best advice I ever received is that I must do what I can do best.
What is the worst advice you ever received?
The worst advice I ever received, that there isn't much, right? Because, no. There's no worst advice I've ever received that is worst.
Okay. So if you could change one thing in Africa, which one would it be?
If I could change one thing in Africa, I would change, the habit of receiving free gifts.
What's the biggest lie you believed for a longest time?
The best lie I believed.
The biggest lie you believed for a longest time.
That's a very difficult question in terms of what is a lie. The lie that could be there, I never believed it anyway, because I think very early I understand that religion could disturb your mind if you're not critical about it. Okay? But also the so-called liberators who are not liberating us could take us for a ride. So I never believed anybody could liberate you. Nobody. You only liberate yourself. And Christianity was there to just manipulate us, people.
All right, thank you so much. I wanted us to dig deep into this conversation from colonialism, Christianity, this bill, to dig deep into it. But due to our time, I really appreciate you travel all the way from Murewa to come here to sit with me to have this important discussion. I hope someone out there learned something, and I hope it will change someone's life out there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Any parting words? So before we close, talk to Zimbabweans out there.
Zimbabweans, don't be fooled once again. Vote no to any constitutional amendments that would allow the sitting president to carry on without elections and to take your right to vote for the president of your choice.
Thank you so much for watching this ImeTheFinest here. This is Wisdom and Purpose with Ime. Please do remember to check other episodes on our platform and hit that subscribe button so that our content will reach many people. But for now, we are out.